All advice given is for general information purposes. All legal cases are different, and you should seek the advice of your own attorney before acting or making decisions. No attorney-client privilege applies to communications on this show, and no attorney-client relationship is created by calling or writing in. Attorney Rominger practices only in Pennsylvania and maintains his primary office in Carlisle, Pennsylvania.
Well, welcome back. 540-0580. I did post on my Facebook page the article about Senator Santorum's wife winning her lawsuit. So if you want to read about that, just in case you're calling me out on that one, it's dated December 11th, 1999, from the Post-Gazette, Washington Bureau. So anyhow, check it out on the Facebook page. And, of course, we do have exclusive content for members or friends only on Facebook. So if you get a chance, don't forget to friend me on Facebook. We'll gladly accept you into the fold. And, of course, Shane also helps out from time to time with a little bit with the Rominger Law Office's page. So if you'd like that as well, we always appreciate that. And, of course, you can go to weekendappointment.com, so don't forget about that as well. I know that the guys were busy answering and hammering out answers to legal questions the other day on the website. So I think we answered about 30 questions this past week. So just keep throwing those questions up there. We'll keep giving you half an answer, and we'll go from there. 540-0580. Rick, you've been holding the longest. What's going on? Hey, Rick.
Hi, Carl. How are you doing?
Good.
Yes, I have some questions. This is mostly for my daughter. She just graduated. She's an undergraduate, and she graduated in December.
Okay.
And she was interested in law. She just got her LSAT scores back,
mm-hmm.
and it was 151. So that's sort of on the low side, I assume.
See, now I don't know. They changed the way they score those, but I don't think that's terribly low. It seems like the numbers a lot of my classmates had.
Oh, okay.
So
I was just comparing them to the different law schools, like the top 10, top 100, and they're usually in the 160s, 165.
Yeah. You know, the short answer is it's kind of a scaled score. They go on the LSAT, but they also go on your GPA from undergrad.
Right.
And the other thing is, now, and this is two important questions. Number one, there's an old joke amongst the lawyers, which is nobody asks what you got on the bar exam. You know, in other words, nobody asks if you passed or failed. Nobody asks what your grade is. They just say, "Hey, lawyer."
Okay.
And the other joke is, rarely does anybody ask what law school you went to. And when they do, it may be an employer, it may be a judge, it may be, something you're doing. Although I was once asked by a judge what law school I went to because he wanted to know what law school taught the things that I know because he'd never heard of such things. But and the court reporter offered to give me a page of the transcript of that.
Okay.
But he ultimately ruled in my favor, and I didn't get my apology. But anyhow, back to my point on this is this. If she can get into a law school, there's ups and downs to that. The upside to it is she'll have a great legal education. It teaches you how to think about things in a way that's fairly unique, how to compartmentalize and break things down. A lot of people would tell you to just, to make things more overcomplicated. But the long and short of it is the flip side is you got to balance the debt load that you create going to law school and whether or not you think it's going to lead to meaningful employment. Right now, I can hire lawyers fairly inexpensively because it seems like the market's not snapping them up. But the lead times on these things are such that, if she starts law school and you're 3-4 years down the road, things can really change dramatically.
Right.
So, just a lot to say, but it can't hurt to apply to a few.
Sure. Is it more important to pick a law school based on what kind of law you want to practice? Or?
No. In fact, your first year of legal education, well, I shouldn't say, what am I saying? No. But the first year of legal education is pretty standard amongst all the law schools. The long and short of it is specialization, something you can do later. Obviously some schools have reputations for things. And if you, I guess if you were top of your class in college and you had a high LSAT and you wanted to, go to Harvard because of this program, you wanted to go to Penn State University because of the mediation program, you might make your selection based on that. But,
I see. Okay.
But the reality is, and she's not going to know what kind of law she wants to practice. A lot of the young people go, I want to prosecute crimes or I want to save the environment. And I remember somebody saying to me about environmental lawyers. Environmental lawyers usually spend most of their time helping companies figure out how to pollute the environment, contrary to popular belief, because that's their job is to figure out what you can do. Not there are very few enforcement people in that area. Anyhow, I'm just prattling on, basically saying she should probably just apply to a couple. What she should do is pick a couple schools that would be tough for her to get into and a couple schools that'll be maybe get into, and one or two like safeties.
Okay.
And go from there. You don't want to put out 1,000 applications because they ding you on every one of them.
Sure. Yeah, I think she wants to stay in state. So.
And there's another question too. I mean, in the old days, so Pennsylvania had a few law schools, right? So I'll just give you an example. We had Dickinson before it was Penn State, and we had Penn. One was a national school. In other words, if you graduate from Penn, that's kind of a big deal nationally. On the other hand, locally in the state, Dickinson was a big deal. So those are kind of different ways to break it out as well as to where if you're planning on staying in Pennsylvania or a certain state, you might want to pick one of the schools that's prominent in that state. Otherwise, you might want to pick a national school, which gives you some more flexibility.
Okay.
The national schools are usually a little harder to get into.
I see. Okay. Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
All right, my friend. Take care.
Bye.
540-0580. Let's see. Who's next? Yeah, I went to Dickinson. I could have gone to American. I could have gone to Case Western. Chicago wouldn't let me in for some reason. I don't know why. Melanie.
Yes.
What's going on?
Hi, Carl. I have a question about child support.
Yes.
I have a stepdaughter that is living with us, and my husband just went through the process because she just came to live with us over the past year. His wife does pay us, or his ex-wife pays us child support, but she has never worked outside of the home, and so the child support is very low. But her attorney did reveal that she is currently trying to get disability through Social Security. But since she has never worked, she has to go through her spouse's Social Security. So the person at Domestic Relations told us they weren't sure. They told us to check back after this proceeding goes through to see if she even does get the disability. But if it does, is that considered, would that be considered her income because it is going through the spouse's Social Security?
Yeah, usually once they're declared disabled, then their income is their income. And the way Social Security pays it, while she can tap his credit, it's technically to her.
Okay.
So it would become her income, yes.
It would. So it would be worthwhile for us to then look into that if she is deemed disabled and does get that insurance. Okay.
Correct.
Okay, very good.
Yep, just pay attention to it. And sport's always a moving target. Remember that.
Yes.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Let's see, who's next? I always got to check this board here. You have these little buttons you have to hit, and you have to hit them right, otherwise you drop people. Bob, you're on the air.
Hey, Carl. I was just calling in to see if I could help out with the caller that called in not too long ago with the Chapter 13 bankruptcy question.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically the way that the creditor can report is whatever status the account was in when it was included in the bankruptcy. So if it was charged off and then they claimed bankruptcy and it went into the Chapter 13 and they had been making payments on it,
right,
it would show the status that it was a charge-off. It would just have to show that it was in Chapter 13. And if people have a problem with it, a lot of times the trustee of the bankruptcy can help out with that.
Okay.
Because it's a violation of the bankruptcy law. So as opposed to looking for a consumer protection attorney, which are few and far between.
Correct.
Find a good one because the act that protect consumers call for the plaintiff's attorney to recoup, for them to recoup attorney's fees. So most of the time they're not going to take it unless it's
right.
Pretty easy case for them to win.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you know what's going on here.
Well, yeah, I had a lot of experience with it. And actually, the closest attorneys I found that really knew what they were doing were from the Philadelphia area.
Uh-huh.
So, and it's tough. I mean, attorneys aren't always there to really do what's right. I mean, it's a business for them. And if it's a bad business decision, whether it's a violation of consumer protection law or not, they just won't take it.
Right. Well, yeah, because there's not enough in it. Sometimes people get frustrated because they want me to take something on a contingency fee, and I'm saying this is a $1,500 claim, and there's just nothing. There's no way I can make money on this. Therefore, you're going to have to do it on your own, and good luck.
Yeah, most of the time, consumer protection attorneys are ones that deal with it. Are a lot of times their decision-making process is what's going to be able to be settled quickly.
Right.
Because most of the time, if that goes to court, judges are going to want to see actual damages, and statutory damages aren't much, and the judge cuts down what the attorney's claiming their fees are. And
yeah, There's a joke about, the judges forget the day they take the bench, they forget what it is to earn a living. Anyhow, did I lose you, Bob? I think I lost him. Got to go to break here. 540-0580. Welcome back. 540-0580 is the talk line number. We're going to be keeping up with the law here, answering your legal questions for about another 40 minutes. So if you're not at a phone, find one, 540-0580. And, of course, if you need your legal questions answered throughout the week, you can go to romagerlaw.com. And for those of you who can't access the web, don't know how to turn your iPad on, go 241-6070 on the rotary dial, and you'll be able to get us. And up next is Ben. What's going on?
Hi, Carl. I got a question here. I was just wondering if you could help me out.
Yeah.
I got pulled over yesterday pulling a trailer on Route 30 in York, and they fined me $470 because my truck was registered for 8,800 pounds, and my trailer was GVW 15,000.
Okay.
And my total weight with the truck and trailer, they pulled me on a scale, was 13,160, and I just didn't know if there's any loophole I could get out of this fine or what, if I had anything.
Interesting. And they're saying, what do I want to say? They're saying you're overweight because of the combination.
Yeah, I guess I didn't have a combination tag, but I'm not like a truck driver. I was just going to pick up some roofing, and I borrowed a truck and trailer from a friend.
Interesting. All right. Well, the short answer is, what are they tagging you for? How much?
What, the dollar amount?
Yeah. What's the fine?
The fine's $300, and total is $470 after all the.
Yeah. What I would recommend doing is just going and taking the hearing, going to see go in there and say to the police officer, listen, I can't afford to pay this per se. If you show up with a lawyer, of course, claiming you don't want to pay it or can't afford it, always is interesting. But I think you could probably plea bargain it down to something that would carry a much less fine. But the short answer is the base fine these days is about $140 or $50. I think that's about the cheapest a ticket gets.
Mm-hmm.
But you could save yourself a few hundred just by taking the hearing.
Okay.
And I think if you explain to the officer, I mean, you didn't yell at him and tell him to go arrest crack dealers or anything, did you?
No, we had small talk. He asked me what I'm using the roofing for, and I bought it off Craigslist, and I'll just bring it at home. And he was a nice guy. There was two of them, and they're real pleasant to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, unfortunately, I gotta, I guess York City needs money, so.
Right. Yeah, and a lot of times if you take the hearing, that's a good way to work things out. If that doesn't work, then you're entitled to an appeal, and you can take it up to the Court of Common Pleas. It sounds like a straightforward charge. Whether or not you have a defense, I'm trying to think. There's some technical issues. And the guy I would probably actually calls my brother because he's in the scrap metal business, and he seems to know all the weights and combinations and all the things you can and can't do when it comes to these.
Mm-hmm.
But the long and short of it is you're probably in violation, because that sounds right to me. So usually what we work on at that point is not you can't prove I'm guilty. It's more of come on now, how about you just make it a little easier for me to stomach defense?
Because, I've never, I've got one speeding ticket when I was 16, and I'm almost 25 now.
Well, these are all the things I'd be arguing to the police officer. I tell you what, not arguing, but pointing out, look, my guy's got a clean driving record. Obviously, he just borrowed this. He didn't really know what he was doing. Obviously, he's aware now. It's never going to happen again. And actually, a lot of police officers, while they have to write the ticket, aren't adverse to working out as long as they realize that you can't do that and you're sorry. They understand that shelling out money is not anybody's idea of fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not in business to, I'm not a truck driver or anything.
Well, right. It wasn't like this was you were the roofer guy dragging this around. We all would go, wait a minute, you should know this.
Yeah.
All right, my friend.
All right, Carl. I appreciate it.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, that's, the short answer is go ask for some mercy. Good old-fashioned mercy. 540-0580. Cindy, what's going on?
Hi, Carl. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure.
This simple question is, what's the best way to get a refund from a company that has admitted they owe you money, you have it in writing, and they're really stonewalling with getting the money to me? That's the short question.
How much money are we talking about?
About $2,200.
Okay. Well, the only reason they could be stonewalling if they've already admitted the promise, they must not have the money laying around. Is that probably what's going on?
I think that is what's going on, because I actually have a friend who's in the same situation with this company. This company is located in Maryland, and the transaction took place in Pennsylvania. And my friend told me yesterday that she did receive a check for her refund, and the check bounced.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how to put some muscle behind getting something from this company. They're still in business, and they're still growing.
Right. So it may be possible. I think the short answer is it may be time to have someone like myself write them a letter and say, hey, we need this money or we're going to have to reduce it to a judgment and put you, I hate to say it this way, but put you on the top of the list, so somebody else gets their refund later or never.
Well, at this point, this has been going on since September, so I'm a little bit like, hey, we're all in it for ourselves now, so that money really would come in handy. Would it be worth calling your office and making an appointment and
yeah, absolutely,
getting a letter structured?
Absolutely.
All right, well, I'll give a call on Monday and see if we can get this set up.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Bye-bye.
you take care. 540-0580. Who's next here? Pat, you're on the air.
Hello.
Yes.
This is Pat in Lancaster.
Okay, what's going on?
I'm looking for an attorney who can set up a family trust by looking at my finances so that future for the kids is relatively safe.
Gotcha. You know what? Steve Snyder in my office does some of that work, and we have a Lancaster office. So if you want to contact us on Monday, we can definitely put you in contact with Steve.
What is the phone number?
The phone number for the office is 241-6070.
6070.
And just ask for attorney Steve Snyder.
S-N-I-D-E-R?
S-N-Y-D-E-R, yep.
S-N-Y-D-E-R. Okay.
All right, take care.
Thank you very much, Carl.
All right. Bye. Hopefully that works out. 540-0580. Yeah, we do have, just to remind folks, we have locations all around the mid-state. You can most frequently, for instance, I'm most frequently in the Carlisle office. I go down to Lancaster and hang out from time to time, et cetera, et cetera. But you can pretty much get a lawyer anywhere in central Pennsylvania you need. So if you can hear this signal, we probably handle your area. And we've got, Shane, how many lawyers do I have now? 6? 6? That's 6. Okay, there's 6 of us total. So, we handle a pretty broad swath of the legal world. And I don't know why I can't add that up in my head because I know everybody's names, but maybe math and English don't go together. I don't know. Tim, you're on the air. Tim.
Hello?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, hi, Carl. I got a question for you. My girlfriend was hired full-time at a business, and she found out within, I'll say, days of her taking this job that it was a temporary job. She found the ad on Craigslist. The ad said nothing about temporary. It said full-time permanent. She was given a handbook, company handbook, with all the with the retirement spelled out and the benefits spelled out. But here she found a fax that was sent a few days after she started that basically said that she was a temp. And here, within a couple of months, her boss was no longer there, and someone else came in and told her, well, here's what you can do. You can either cut your hours or you can leave. And now I know Pennsylvania is an at-will state.
Right.
But, again, she was hired by this guy. He told her it was a full-time permanent job and, again, gave her all the benefits, and within months she was gone. So is there any recourse at all? Now, to be honest with you, I have talked to an attorney or two about this. I can't get anybody to take the case. I was going to file it myself because I know the old saying is he who represents himself as a fool for a client.
Yeah, and
But I thought, well, she's got nothing to lose by fighting it.
But the short answer is what would her claim be? And the long answer, her exclusive remedy is probably unemployment if she has enough credits in.
Well, she could get, she's been collecting unemployment for over a year.
Right.
And when she finally got this job, she thought, great, I got a full-time job, I got benefits, everything's cool. And then, again, within days, she found out, she's not going to have a job for long.
Right.
So the guy misled her. The guy that hired her misled her because we have a copy of the ad, we have a copy of all the papers.
What's what I mean? He may have misled her, but I'm not sure that gets you around the exclusive remedy there. I mean, it wasn't because she was a protected class,
right.
And there's no right to remain employed. And all he has to say is, at the time I misled her, I wasn't intending to mislead her.
Right. So would you basically say I should just forget about it, not even bother to fight it?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see listen, I mean, I don't know what you're going to win. That's the problem.
Right. Well, what I did was I basically took what she would earn from that day that she was hired until she retired in 65. I came up with a figure of like $230,000.
Right.
And thought, well, we'll just sue for that, see what happens. And
yeah, he's going to whack you right out of court.
All right, well, that's what I figured. I figured I'd ask you.
All right, my friend.
All right, thanks a lot, Carl. Bye-bye.
Bye. 540-0580, Carl Rominger here. When we get back from the break, we'll answer some more of your legal questions. Welcome back. 540-0580, just answering your legal questions here for about another half an hour. I got Drew Deo with me. Drew, how are you?
Not too bad, Carl.
What are you up to?
A little bit of this and that. Actually, this past week I did a lot of work on a workers' compensation claim that I have going, and we don't have too many of those at the firm, but I did a lot of work on that, a lot of custody-related things this past week, too.
How's your gun rights case coming along?
The gun rights we actually have a hearing coming up, I think, here in a couple of weeks, which is the original PCRA hearing.
Okay.
Which and I think when we talked about this last time I was on, that might not be the best outlet for relief, and we may ultimately end up having to take that one to the Superior Court. But we do have the PCRA hearing coming up here, like I said, in a couple of weeks.
Gotcha. So you got to lay your record there.
Yes.
Interesting. Well, you want to hang with me and toss in some answers for questions here?
Absolutely.
Arthur, you have a child custody question.
Yes.
What's going on?
Now, it's actually two questions kind of bottled up in one scenario.
Okay.
I have a son, and I've been fighting for my son's 3 years old. I've been fighting for him since he was 3 years old. Now, when he was initially born, I had a drug conviction, and I was incarcerated for the time. Now, so that it kind of postponed me being able to get any visits because she was claiming about safety issues and so forth and so on. Now, I went along with everything that I needed to do, and it came up to the time for me to go back to another hearing now again, and I caught another unfortunate drug case. Now, being as though I had a past record of a PWI, they gave me another one. So now my question is, now I'm scheduled for trial. Now, my one question is, should I get a lawyer, being as though, because I got another drug conviction, would it be even worth fighting, or should I just postpone it again until I get the situation cleared up?
Well, I mean, listen, the short answer is the mere fact that you have a conviction or that you're facing a charge alone isn't enough to deny you custody, but it has to be factored in, and there's certain hoops under the new statute that we're going to have to deal with to make sure that counselor thinks that you're not a danger to the child. And obviously, you're going to have to start avoiding all this law enforcement interaction to make sure that the custody situation turns out for your benefit and your child's benefit in the long run, right?
Right.
But I wouldn't counsel you to just ignore the custody situation at this point. It might make sense to sit down with a custody lawyer off the radio where you can give some more detail, get some more background, and think about what you need to do to go forward. Because what you don't want to do is end up in a position where you wait to address the custody issues, and then as time passes, it gets harder and harder to do that.
Right. And I think actually that to sort of answer the question, it's probably more concerned to have an attorney with the criminal-related stuff going on at the same time. It sort of throws a wrinkle in it that on the custody side, I would certainly take the advice of an attorney on that.
Does that help, Arthur?
It kind of does help, but I just needed to know if I have any basis of custody. You understand what I mean? Like I've been under supervised custody for 3 years, and I've complied with everything. Now, unfortunately, I just caught this other conviction, and it's only because of my prior record. Is why I have this PWI pending.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it wasn't for my prior record, I would only have a possession. You understand what I mean? So now, hopefully, when I go to court and get everything settled, it will get dropped down to just a possession. But as of right now, I have the PWI.
Yeah. So, the short answer is I do think you need to deal with that case. And do you have a lawyer working on that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I would sit down with a custody lawyer off the air and go over everything and keep your poker in the fire. And I don't see a reason why it would hurt to pursue, particularly if you're confident that the PWID is going to get reduced.
Right.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
All right, Arthur, thanks. Good luck. Let's see here. Dino.
Yes, this is Dino.
Dino, what's going on? You're Carl and Drew.
Hello, Carl. I have a question for you. To give you a quick story, I was married for 4.5 years, and I ended up going through a 5-year divorce process. What happened was we ended up going to a divorce master who made an outrageous decision, which was going to run me well over $100,000 and some thousand for a short marriage. And, of course, we were going to file an appeal. However, I have documentation from the transcript company that my attorney never filed the transcript, or never filed to get the transcript. Thus, what happened was the judge finally decided that since we didn't file the transcript, I wasn't allowed to, argue the case.
Mm-hmm.
And in essence, I got stuck with a really high settlement on this. And the problem that I had was I do have a very good attorney in the Reading area, and this other attorney is from Reading, but nobody in the area wants to go against another attorney in that area.
Right.
So I just don't know. Like I said, I do have documentation showing that, she dropped the ball. And when I contacted her, because I talked to the Bar Association, they said that we could go in and bring it before them to see whether there would be any, reason to pursue this. When I called her and told her that, she just said, well, I'll contact my malpractice insurance, and that was the end of it. Then I didn't hear from her for 8-9 months, and then I finally get a letter with all these interests and everything else.
Interesting. Well, long and short of it does sound like potential malpractice. The big question is, would it change the outcome or not? And so you end up with like a little trial within a trial.
Right. I know what you mean.
So are you pursuing the claim right now?
I kind of thought she dropped it for a while, just figured, when she kind of admitted that she was getting malpractice insurance, I thought she figured, well, it's a wash on her and it's a wash on mine. And then, like I said, 8 months later, I finally get another bill and it has all this interest and stuff, so I need to do something.
Yeah, and it seems to me there should be an adjustment. You could go to the fee dispute committee for your local bar association.
That's probably what it was, and I guess you can do one of two things. You can just have them hear it, and they can make like a decision, or you can go to, is it binding arbitration to them, and then I guess they would make a decision, and then you have to stick to that.
Right.
But I guess, I don't know if I'm allowed to have legal representation if I go for a fee dispute, or if it's just myself going in against my attorney.
No, you'd be entitled to have representation for that. And you might want to just go the informal route with them initially. Okay,
that's what I was thinking.
And see what they come up with. My experience is that the fee dispute committees usually are going to go to the attorney. This is the way the conversation's going to go. I'll tell you right now.
Right.
Okay, look, Dino says you didn't file a transcript that you should have. And I know that theoretically it might not have made a difference and et cetera, but you really probably should adjust your bill substantially at this point because of the thought that, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. So that's probably how that recommendation is going to come out.
Right. And I even was realistic in thinking, okay, a lot of times they'll end up splitting stuff 50-50 and so forth. But even with a 50-50 split, it still was a significant big difference of maybe like $50,000, that I feel that, the money that I owed her should have been compensated for. But
right.
I think I like your idea of going in first, do it the informal way. If, in fact, I do need to take a step beyond that, is there someone in your office that would be able to present, since you are outside the Reading area, that might be willing to look at the case?
Yeah, Drew, who's on the line, would be happy to do that.
Absolutely. Okay, and Drew, would I just call the same number, or is there a different number for your office that I would call to try and talk to you? give us a call at 241-6070.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Drew. Can you do that again? 241?
717-241-6070.
6070. Okay, Drew, I appreciate that.
Absolutely. We'll get in touch with you next week.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Let's see. Dino's got some issues there. Drew, and the answer is, and I've been doing this long enough to tell you, I had a client one time complain that he thought my fee was excessive. And I remember that they said, well, we went to the courthouse, and the courthouse file was 3 foot thick. And actually, just based on the thickness of the file, we don't think your fee looks excessive at all.
Based on the size of the file.
Right, the courthouse file. Because a 3 foot thick courthouse file tells you, how many years it was in litigation and what was going on, and we were defending something. And it was just funny because that's one where somebody complained, and they were so far in the wrong,
Right.
But the flip side is when the lawyer's done something, and even if it didn't make a difference in the outcome, but it's a big boo-boo,
right.
That's usually when a smart attorney says, listen, I goofed up. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you back all your money on this thing, because that's the right thing to do. And number two, it tends to make the client happy. And number three, it prevents malpractice claims.
Right.
So if you're an attorney out there and you're listening, here's a little hint. Try to make your clients happy. Try not to sue your clients. There's some lawyers that will excessively sue clients for past due bills. I don't recommend that. It's not really something I'm in favor of.
No.
So as you know, Drew.
No.
All right, man, we're going to go to break here, and when we get back from the break, we're going to talk to Dan and whoever else wants to call. We've got 15 more minutes, 540-0580. I got Drew Deo here on the phone. He's going to help me out. If you guys have some good questions or some stumpers, call in 540-0580. And, of course, throughout the week, go to romingerlaw.com to learn more about us, or go to weekendappointment.com to post a question, or just to see all the questions and answers that are already up there. There's hundreds of questions and answers already on that site, so if you need a quick reference, we might have already helped you out. Is your neighbor's tree encroaching on your yard? I think we've answered that one. All kinds of things up there. All right, when we get back from the break, we'll take some more legal questions. It's a good song.
Oh,
Yeah, what are you going to say, Drew?
Good song.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that Warren Zevon? All right. Come on, Shane. Who sings this? Sounds like your life, Drew. 540-0580 if you have a legal question. Betty, you're on with Carl and Drew.
Yes. Is there any truth if medical surgery clips are left inside that they won't do any harm?
Well, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but it sounds... Listen, I know that a sponge in the patient's belly is often the one they say it's not good.
Yeah. Well, I was diagnosed with a disorder of the stomach. It's called gastroparesis in June of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, I've lost about 65 pounds. I've been really sick. And now I'm in kidney failure now. And every time they do an ultrasound, the girl will say, oh, there's surgery clips there. They're in the upper right-hand side of my abdomen.
Okay. Well, why don't we? When were these things left in there or put in there?
Surgery was 1985.
And they just discovered them?
Yeah, they just discovered them on the ultrasound that they did first of the upper GI.
And what was the date of that ultrasound?
That was in November.
Okay.
17th.
Of this year?
Yes.
Okay.
And that was the first time you were aware of it?
Yes.
Well, you may have a medical malpractice claim. Betty, you might want to talk with Drew off the air about that.
Absolutely.
Let me give you, Betty, if you want to hold on for a minute,
All right.
Shane will give you some contact information for Drew.
All right. Thank you.
All right, hold on. Okay, let's see who's next here. Tom, you're on WHP 580 with Carl Rominger and Drew Deo. Hey, Tom.
Hello, how you doing, Drew?
Good.
Carl. I have a question. I had a Social Security hearing, and they denied my Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
They told me it was like hunting season. You either have a time period that you have to file, or you lose it. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that or not.
No. Well, it's a time period to appeal. Yeah, I'm familiar with that concept.
Yeah, the judge said that there was a time period that I haven't worked in over 10 years, and he said if I would have filed 5 years prior, I would have got it. Well, here's the catch is I have all the documentation where the doctor says I can't work, and so I have a retirement through the Teamsters, and I called them, and it says that if you're disabled, you can start collecting on your retirement, and they tell me that I can't. Even though I have all the documentation saying that, I cannot work.
Okay. Well, I would refer you probably to the Dickinson School of Law Disability Clinic.
Yeah.
Because they handle Social Security claims like that. All right.
How do I contact somebody like that?
Well, you just kind of got to find them. It's like the A-team. So what I would do is go to Google and just Google Penn State Dickinson School of Law and look up their disability clinic.
Yeah, you probably just contact the law school and say you need to get in touch with the disability law clinic, and they'll get you in touch with them.
Okay, yeah, that was because that's what I said. With having all documentation, and they're still saying, well, you can't collect your retirement until you're 57 years old, even though I have all the documentation saying that I am disabled and can't work.
Right. Well, like I say, I mean that's I don't know why that is, and I don't know the answer to that, but those guys are the specialists, and that's why we're referring them to you.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks a million.
Good luck. I mean, what do I know? Dan, you're on the air with Carl and Drew. 540-0580. What's going on, Dan?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment about a lady that called in a little bit earlier, said she's trying to get money back from a company that admits they owe her a refund from Maryland, I think, and she said that she had a friend that also was due a refund from them and was sent a check that bounced. I would think it would be good to encourage her to try and get that company to send her a check too, even if it does bounce, because that would be a pattern that the Postal Inspection Service might want to look at as mail fraud.
Oh, okay.
And it's one thing if you're a deadbeat individual or a deadbeat company and you get a letter from a lawyer, you probably occasionally just laugh at those. But if you get a visit from the Postal Inspection Service, they might not laugh so long and hard about that.
Right.
Yeah. Now, in that, the short. Of course, the flip side is do you want to push them over the edge? And I don't know. A guy in federal prison probably isn't going to pay his bills either. And getting the benefit of criminal restitution isn't always great either. But no, you're right. I mean, and it's certainly something that if nobody's going to get paid, it's better they get punished, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that a visit from the Postal Inspection Service might make the person just say, I've been a really sloppy bookkeeper, and I'm going to correct this today.
Right.
As opposed to, I've been a really sloppy bookkeeper and a bad businessman, and you know what? I signed that check knowing that there wasn't any money in the account to pay that.
Yeah, that's a crime all by itself.
Right. So, and when you use the U.S. mail to do that, I think they consider that mail fraud.
Yeah, and actually, in order to prove mail fraud, the crime, you don't have to prove actual criminal activity. You just have to prove a fraudulent activity that was facilitated by the mail. So things that would usually not be criminal become criminal because the mail was facilitating the fraud. Because not all fraud is criminal.
I was in business before, and it's tough to collect on somebody out of state.
Yeah. Because
the Pennsylvania courts don't want to do that. But, she definitely has an advantage since they sent a bad check to her friend. If she could goad them in some way to send her a bad check, she definitely have a pattern there.
Yeah, then we got a RICO.
Then the Postal Inspection Service might really look at that and say, yeah, this isn't just sloppy bookkeeping.
Then we got a RICO. All right, I got to let you go, brother. Thank you. John, you have a family trust question.
Well, Carl, this is John. Hey, I said family trust. That's another issue. But what we got is a family, a father that set up a company, and it's a family company, and he's up in age, and he's left the company, he's still alive, to the 7 children.
Okay.
They're equal shareholders. My question is, while he's still alive, he's got dementia, he's drawing income, obviously, but the 7 children own the entire company.
Right.
If something was to be voted on, by the 7 shareholders, they own 100%, and 4 of the children agreed to something, so that's 4/7. Suppose one of the other 3 does not respond to the, do we want to do this, yes or no, vote yes or no, and they don't respond. 4 vote yes, 2 vote no.
Right.
and the seventh one does not respond? Is it majority rules regardless?
Well,
of the
that's what Obama used to do. He'd vote not present, right? Yeah, the short answer is majority rules. You got to have a quorum, but maybe you guys should have some kind of agreement as to how this works. So if you don't, it's probably time to sit down and put some rules in place and formalize an agreement of some sort for the family business. On the other hand, if there isn't one, then it's probably going to be simple majority rules. As long as you get 4 people to do anything, who cares?
A quorum, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much for the show, and I appreciate your advice.
Thank you. I'm gonna, Drew. Did I tell you I'm getting my own kingdom?
No.
Well, there used to be a routine where there was a guy on the radio, and he was the king of fa, and we're not going to talk about that routine because you can work those words around in your head a while, and you'll figure out how the whole routine went when you're the king of, fa.
Right.
But now I'm building my own little Romingham, and it's Romingham. You like that?
I do.
It's going to be really nice. We haven't really located it yet, but it's probably going to be about 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet square, but it's going to extend into space. So anyhow, if anybody remembers the old King of Fa routines, I'd love to hear from you on Facebook because we obviously can't talk about that here on the air. Again, that was an old radio bit, and I remember those guys years ago, and it was up in the Buffalo area, and they got some good FCC fines for it, so it's very hysterical.
Okay.
And actually, I want you to work on how we can read George Carlin's 7 Deadly Words on the air, if there's a way we can make that possible, Drew. That's the other thing I want you to work on in your spare time.
That's right down my alley.
You know what, too? And George, you're on the air with me. Hold on one second. You got an easy pass question? Shoot fast.
Okay. One of the questions on this easy pass in Pennsylvania,
yes,
isn't that illegal and discriminating what they're trying to do here, make it more expensive for those that don't travel the turnpike that often to pay more?
Yeah, I mean, it's a form of discrimination, but like all forms of discrimination, it has to be illegal discrimination before you do that.
I mean, can a group of people bring like a class action suit against
Well, but you'd have to show that you were a protected minority. I got to go. Guys, I'll see you next week. In the meantime, go to romingerlaw.com or check us out at weekendappointment.com. I'll see you next Saturday.
See you, Carl.